Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Bad for Baseball, the baddest baseball podcast on the internet, presented to you by Betway. And today, guys, wow, we've got some benches clearing again in Philadelphia after a Tampa Bay Ray pitcher got very pissed off about his outing. And then you look over on the AL side of things, and you've got some history being made over there as the Blue Jays were taking on the Mets. Some very fun things were happening in that series. And as well, speaking of those Mets, hello, we're in a playoff spot now. We overtook those Braves. We're going to get into all that and more on this episode. But before we do, Nick, how you doing on this Thursday morning?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm a sucker for the drama, right? Like, I love to see it when the boys, I guess throw down the gloves, if you will, and go after one another. And this was great because we watched a grown man have a temper tantrum on live television.
Like a baby.
Like literally like
baby.
a child, It's I'm getting kind of flashes of myself here when I'm on like the green of hole 7 and I'm already, trying to putt for quadruple bogey. Like, this is what it looked like to me. Literally a grown professional sports player having a temper tantrum on the mound, and the Phillies called him out on it. What we're referring to, everybody, is we got, how do you even pronounce his name?
Oh yeah, I got it here.
It's
Uceta.
Okay,
yeah.
Uceta. Edwin Uceta, Tampa Bay Rays pitcher, having a phenomenal season with the Tampa Bay Rays. The ERA prior to this outing against the Philadelphia Phillies, it was well below 1. He was doing the full Tampa Bay Rays treatment,
Yeah.
They just completely turned a corner, and now I'm elite with Tampa Bay.
Yeah, literally, he was with the Dodgers in 2021, 6 ERA, Arizona, 5 ERA, Mets he barely played, he only had 1 game, and then he goes to Tampa Bay and he becomes a stud.
Exactly.
It's like, how'd this happen at 26 years old?
Well,
it's the Rays.
It is
Kevin
really
Cash.
the Rays, just knowing what to do with their pitchers and, literally breaking baseball year in and year out, turning guys like Edwin Uceta into studs. But either way, that's neither here nor there, because in today's game, or I guess the game
Tuesday.
that we're referring to, Tuesday's game, thank you very much, he didn't have his best stuff. It wasn't going too good for him, and those Philadelphia Phillies, who are serious World Series contenders, were coming after him. They were hitting with authority, and he let a couple earned runs scoot around the base passes, and then you saw Nick Castellanos. Very hittable face. I will, you know what I mean?
You think Nick Castellanos has a hittable face?
I just, you know what I mean? There's punchable faces. I would go so far to say that, maybe he's up there in the punchable face category. You disagree?
I think Castellanos is a good guy, so I don't know. I like him. He's funny.
No. This has nothing to do with him being a bad or a good guy. I think Nick Castellanos is just a great guy. I'm just saying that if you took away the personality, there might be a hittable face there.
He does have a resting mug face. I don't know if I'd hit him, though.
Okay.
I think there's some other hittable faces in the league,
Fair enough, man. Maybe we can make that for another episode, doing our little Mount Rushmore of, who do you really just want to give a good to. Either way, you guys...
Verdugo. Sorry, there we go.
Verdugo's
got a very hittable face.
That is actually very fair,
Okay.
I'd rank Verdugo pretty high as well on my Mount Rushmore. But you guys let us know in the comments down below, who do you want to hit in MLB? Edwin Uceta, he was feeling like how I just felt right there.
Yeah.
He said, you know what, enough is enough. Enough earned runs right here. Takes the baseball and just fires that thing at Nick Castellanos. It was intentional, hit by pitch. At this point in the game, it was 9-4 Phillies, so it's like the game was effectively over here. And, this was just Uceta getting all pissed off. The ERA was inflated to 1.5. And just went after Nick Castellanos.
Yeah, it was tied 4-4, and then they exploded in the 8th for 5 runs. And 3 of those earned runs came off him after he came in relief for Richard Lovelady. Hilarious name.
Oh, it's great. It's great.
It's great. And how did Lovelady end up on the Rays? Again, more Rays stuff, doing Rays stuff. You know what I mean? But yeah, it's a show of just childish behavior right there. And Harper came out afterwards, and said, yeah, he hit him on purpose. It's not the game that we play, man. It shouldn't be. Guys throw too hard nowadays. You're getting mad because a guy hits a homer off you, and now you blow your lead. the whole thing really fired me up, blah, 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 blah. Because Harper was at second base at the time, just hit a double. And as soon as Nick Castellanos got hit, Harper didn't give a shit.
Oh, dude.
He ran out right after him, right behind him,
So
bro.
I'll tell you guys, I'm watching the clip right now. Maybe we can put the clip, like pin it in the description or something like that, so you guys can go see as well. The literal, the millisecond that baseball touches Nick Castellanos, Bryce Harper is off, dude. This is part of the reason why I'm such a Bryce Harper fan. Like, I just love Bryce Harper. And I'll tell you right now, I love Bryce Harper. Actually, I don't know if he's got a hittable face or not. You guys let us know in the comments down below.
I bet Washington fans
I'm
would
sure,
probably think he's got a hittable face.
Depends on your bias right
Yeah.
there. Either way, though, Bryce Harper is a fucking team player, man. The moment that Nick Castellanos took that baseball, he was off. He was feeding in, like with his words. He wasn't actually like feeding into him, even though maybe he should have, based on what it was that you said.
He was holding himself. I could tell he was kind of holding himself back. He was just like in his face yelling.
Yeah,
I think he knows, like, if you're in a playoff race, the last thing you need to do is get suspended. Right now.
Exactly, right. Like we're dealing with, fucking Edwin Useda right here of the Tampa Bay Rays, who are far out of the race. Like, I got something to play for. I'm Bryce Harper. I got to lead this team. So I think he did an incredible job in that regard because he played the leadership role perfectly, which is like, you don't can hit my guy, or else we're coming after you, but also held himself back. And I mean, we were discussing this the other day, I think, about the Philadelphia Phillies, just saying how they are such a, I guess for lack of a better term, like kind of like a brawler type of team.
You don't want to f with them. You know what I mean?
No,
and
you do not.
This isn't the first time that we actually broke down a Phillies bench clearing thing. Remember the one between Arcia?
Yes.
Or a little bit of no, it wasn't a bench clearing thing, but they had beef there going on with Arcia on the Braves. So yeah, I mean, you don't want to f with them, man. Especially Castellanos and Bryce Harper with that scary looking beard.
No, exactly right. And I think that Bryce Harper is 100% onto something. Like, we discussed this in the last episode, just talking about how there's no liability for these pitchers for going out and for hitting the batters. And we were talking about that at the time. Just
unintentional.
Accidentally hitting them, right? And there's still no liability. This was fucking intentional. And I was thinking about this, while you were just talking about what Bryce Harper said, and I was like, well, you know what? Let's do an eye for an eye here. Let's make this fair. If you intentionally throw your baseball 95 miles per hour at Nick Castellanos, then Nick Castellanos should be able to take his baseball bat and fucking whack you as hard as he wants.
Just break your kneecaps?
Listen, that's legitimately...
I'm going to I mean, I know you're just like... I don't know if you're kidding or being serious, because that's absolutely not.
No, but
okay.
what I'm saying is, like, that is the equivalent of that. You know what I mean? It's like,
I think that would be way worse.
But it's like, if you're gonna intentionally come out and try to hurt somebody, it's like it's the same thing as like the batter going out and just hitting somebody with their baseball, which obviously you're right.
Yeah,
we would never do. We would never ever do. But these pitchers get away with it time and time again.
He's getting a 2-game suspension, and I mean, that's something. Do you think it should be even more nowadays?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah, 2 games isn't enough. That's like your resting period. Yeah. I feel like you for a relief pitcher, you got to be gone for at least like a week or two. Like at this point, he should be done for the rest of the season. Like if you intentionally try to hurt somebody, you especially with how he threw a 96-mile-per-hour pitch, and good thing it hit him in like the waistband back area, because if that was at his face, he could have been a lot hurt.
That's what I'm saying, right? Like imagine if somebody takes their baseball bat, walks up to you, and just annihilates you. You're done. You might even be kicked out of MLB if you did that.
Yeah, you could be seriously. You can get killed.
Yes, yeah, but the same thing, like you just said, right? If you're throwing a baseball and like it hits me in the head, like I really don't even see that much of a difference. Like we got to be punishing these people as if it is that bad. But I feel like in baseball, because for I guess more than a century at this point, it's kind of been imprinted in the game that like, well, if you flex on me, I'm gonna throw my fastball at you, and like you're just gonna take it because that's what we do in this game. I think we gotta fucking get rid of that entirely.
I think that's kind of leaving the game. Like honestly, this is the first time you've kind of seen it in a while where like. Honestly, this is the first one this season, I think, where someone retaliated that way, where like they just got mad and intentionally threw at somebody, because it's been kind of leaving the game. I mean, Harper even said it, like it's not the game that we play really anymore.
Well, it shouldn't be, yeah.
So, and if it happens, if that's not the way that we play, like you should actually establish some rules. Like I'm all for the unintentional, even getting hit by a pitch batter. Like you should get fined or suspended a game for like unintentional hitting, but intentional, you got to be gone for a while. Like I think that this offseason needs to be a larger conversation.
Yeah. No, I mean, like, there just shouldn't be any space for it in the game at all, right? You put it in perspective of any other sport. Like, if in football you just walked up to somebody and just fucking punched them in the face.
Yeah, literally.
You're suspended for multiple games now, like multiple weeks, right? Whereas these guys, he gets a 2-game suspension, like you just said. I mean, he probably wasn't even going to pitch for 2 games anyways.
He's going to rest.
So, like, that is honestly maybe even helpful for that guy.
Right, exactly, right.
Like, no, it doesn't make any sense to me at all. So I totally agree with Bryce Harper. I like the fact that he was out there immediately defending his guy right there, and just pulling yourself out of it as well. It is kind of humorous to watch this guy melt down on the mound, especially for a team that, isn't even in the race at this point.
No, the one good note is that you had Kevin Cash, just a class act over here, came up to Castellanos on the 9/11 game yesterday, Wednesday, during batting practice, and apologized to him personally. So at least Kevin Cash knows that, like, damn, like, that shouldn't be happening. So he did his part and tried to mend signs, and Castellanos appreciated the apology. So
sure,
that's something. And also on that day, Castellanos gets hit yet again in the 8th inning, and that time it wasn't intentional. But the Phillies fans, they rained the booze down.
I wonder what, like, somebody, if you're watching this, please let us know in the comments down below. What is the legal punishment if you took a baseball, like, just on the street,
right?
If you took a baseball and threw it as hard as you possibly can at another human being, what's the legal punishment for that?
Probably assault.
Like,
I don't know how many years, but, like,
I'm curious.
Yeah.
I'm genuinely curious. Like, what do you pay a fine for that? Do you have to spend the time in jail? Do you got to do community service? Like, what is the
probably
deal?
Jail time, and then, like, depending on the settlement and everything like that. Like,
yeah, like, because again, we're talking about this guy who's getting 2 games suspended. Like, it's no big deal, right? And,
right. Granted, different. Like, I think about football too. I know they're supposed to, and all agreeing that we are going to be tackling each other. You know what I mean? Like,
yes.
But sometimes it can be intentional, where you're, like, putting a guy down. So same kind of thing, right?
Same kind of, same but different.
Yeah.
I mean, because again, I think that the difference here is. Yes, occasionally you'll make a mistake.
Yeah.
But I think that nobody's agreeing that I'm walking in here to get hit with a baseball. You know what I mean?
Right. Like, whereas if it's unintentional, I'm agreeing that I accept the mistake.
I accept the risk that I'm taking by standing in this box right now. Whereas, but if you're doing it intentionally, like, no one's accepting that risk.
It is kind of weird that way when you think about sports, like, even boxing, for example. I mean, the extreme example. We're punching each other, but we're all allowing this one moment because it's an organized event.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
And
it's kind of wild now when you just zoom out.
I know, yeah. I think that you need to, again, I'm not an expert or anything like that, but I think for boxing and, like, for fighting and everything like that, like, you need to have, like, specific licenses and shit.
Yeah, you have license.
Because it's like, who's to say that, me and my buddy who are, drinking a little bit and we get in an argument, we start fighting. And,
no, it's an organized event
actually,
at the bar.
yeah, exactly. It's like,
no, that makes sense. But that's what happened there in the Philadelphia Phillies land, and I mean, they're still sitting on top. They're sitting pretty. I think they're at 88 games right now, winning. Yeah, they're number 1 in baseball right now, so I didn't phase them. 88 and 58, they're on top.
No, and if anything, dude, it's like, don't piss those guys off. Don't piss them off, because, like, that's the team that they're going to hold on to that shit, and you know that they're going to be pepping themselves up in the locker room being like, dude, people have been attacking us all year. Orlando Arcia is, staring us down. It's time to prove all these guys wrong.
This is why they remind me so much of the 2015 Jays, because everybody here's the thing. I don't think anybody hates the Phillies necessarily.
No.
Or, again, maybe Braves fans, maybe Mets fans, maybe Washington fans.
I think other MLB players hate the Phillies.
I think teams and fans close in the rivalry of the Phillies probably hate them. But for the Toronto Blue Jays, like, everybody in baseball hated the Toronto Blue Jays in 2015. That's why they remind me so much of them. But I even think the Blue Jays, personality-wise, were even a little bit more, like, badass and, like, dangerous the way they played back then. But they're on top of the league. No one could F with them at all right now in the standings, except for maybe this is a stretch, the New York Mets.
I don't think it's a stretch, dude, because the last episode that we were here discussing, the New York Mets were the hottest team in baseball. They were 9-1 on Monday. I suppose they're 8-2 now in their last 10, because they did drop a game in a recent series to the Toronto Blue Jays, but that didn't stop them from having a historic comeback. We are talking about a baseball team that was getting dummied for the first 8 innings. They literally were getting no hit
Yeah.
for 8 innings. This was the final game on Wednesday versus Bowden Francis and the Toronto Blue Jays. 8 innings, no hit, no run, no nothing ball from the New York Mets. And then in the 9th inning, Frankie Lindor, who,
MVP.
yeah, exactly, MVP too. We've already had discussions
Yeah.
on this channel a couple different times about who we think MVP should be. I mean, Frankie Lindor looked pretty damn good in that game because he sends one over the fence, ties up the ball game 1-1, and you're thinking, okay, like at least we're not going to get no hit if you're a Mets fan. They just didn't stop. Ended the game. I think the final score was 6-2.
6-2,
I believe it was, but they finished that inning 6-1. Wow. Wow.
Yeah, they took out Bowden Francis after he gave up the solo homer. Understandably so. His pitch count was like 115, 117 or something like that.
He was gunning for the no-no.
He was going for the no-no.
It,
It was super high. So John Schneider, Blue Jays manager, takes him out, puts in Chad Green, who we personally know has been struggling a lot lately. Walks like 3 dudes, gives up I think it was 3 runs, and then they bring in Hennis Cabrera, gives up even more runs. It was crazy. The Mets, this is a crazy stat. They broke a lot of history. I mean, Bowden, we'll talk about Bowden in a little bit after this, but Mets got a lot of history in that one game. The Mets' 6 runs in the 9th is the most scored by any team in MLB history since the expansion era after getting no hit through 8 innings. Like, that's wild, bro. That's wild.
So the most runs
in the 9th inning after
9th,
getting no hit.
After getting no hit,
Yeah.
which, I mean, that does make a lot of sense. 6 runs in any inning is a shitload, let alone the fact that you didn't even show up for 8 innings of baseball, and then automatically you're alive now.
It goes to show, I mean, we've talked about this on the Blue Jays side of things. Like, man, that Blue Jays bullpen is just ass. And they can make any team look good, man.
Yeah, it's terrible. I mean, like, I don't want to get too far off topic here, but and he didn't even play in this game. This was the best Blue Jays bullpen
This is the best part of their
that they were throwing out right there, and they still sucked. But, we got a guy in the bullpen named Zach Pop. The fans are calling him Zach Poop. That's a real thing, guys. Like, funny, that's his nickname.
And normally Canadians on the Blue Jays, people love and protect.
And he is Canadian.
And he's Canadian, and no one's protecting this guy.
No, his nickname is Zach Poop. That's a real thing, guy. Like, I wish I was fucking fooling you guys. That's legit right now. So yeah, the Toronto Blue Jays are just abysmal when it comes to the bullpen. And if there was going to be any squad that I guess gave up all these runs after almost no hitting you, it would have been this team. But I guess circling back to the New York Mets on this. This just really goes to show the fight that this organization and this team right now, this New York Mets team has. Many other squads after 8 innings of no hit ball, like you're done. You've given up now.
Yeah.
It's all hope is lost. Frankie Lindor with the leadoff bomb, like just you could sense the momentum just completely switched to the New York Mets there, and it felt like every hitter after that was just on one.
They had great at-bats. You know
They
what
did.
I mean?
They did.
Because Chad Green had 0 command in that game. We were live watching it on our other channel. He had 0 command, and they just were patient, waiting him out.
Mm-hmm.
That's what a good team does. And you're right. Like, any other team, like, hell, the Toronto Blue Jays would never come back.
No, of course
They
not.
would
No.
never come back.
No,
they
no,
would
no.
give up. They'd be chasing those pitches, chasing hits. But they had something to play for. I mean, they literally, like we broke down last episode, they were tied for the Braves for the final wild card spot, and now they leapfrogged over them. They're one game above the Atlanta Braves. They are in the wild card spot, and I was saying, like, I think the Mets are going to take it, and it feels like at this rate they should, because the Braves are mitting 5-5 in their last 10. With the New York Mets, they're 8-2. I'm still riding with the way the Mets have been playing, man. They have phenomenal pitching on their side of things. We talked about Sean Manaea. He's been great in the second half, but I didn't realize what he literally did to become so great. He saw Chris Sale pitching over there on the Atlanta Braves and said, wow, this guy looks like he's got Cy Young stuff. I'm going to change everything I do about me and become Chris Sale. Same arm slot that he throws out of, same pitch mix that he throws in terms of percentages and distribution. And all of a sudden, he's pitching like Chris Sale.
Yeah, I mean, it's literally Chris Sale-like, guys. Like, there's some videos online surfacing just, having both of them, like, overlaid on one another, like, as they're throwing a fastball or whatever.
Yeah.
And, the release point, where the arm angle is, the timing, everything is the same. So, I mean, I guess Sean Manaea just like saw something that was working and went, damn, I kind of want to be like that guy.
Yeah.
And he's doing a really, really good job of it. So Chris Sale, I mean, I guess you should have like copyrighted your
Right.
your pitching style, because it's clearly being taken advantage of right now. But you know what, to Sean Manaea, and like, just credit to him for making that adjustment. Like it's really tough, I think, especially for pitchers to mid-season.
Oh, it's so
like,
hard.
Just totally change
Just
everything
change
up, right?
everything.
Like it's so difficult, like especially for them. And Manaea has done it, just beautifully.
Yeah,
right?
like, I mean, it goes to show like his athleticism to be able to adjust and throw that accurately with that arm slot, because that could change everything that you do. You
100%,
change
yeah.
your entire command. And here's a fun note. I mean, first of all, he is the ace of the staff right now. Like, he's dominating on all facets, and it's believable because you've seen the change he made, and we saw it firsthand. He was the reason why they were so close in that game to begin with against Bowden Francis. But here's the fun note: he's got a player option next year. He's only getting paid $13.5 million if he takes the player option. I think he's gonna hit free agency.
What's the ERA right now?
Oh, it's good. It's sitting at a total of 3.35. And if you I think anybody can look at that second half and be like, okay, like that second half. I'm just gonna look at the last 30 days for Sean Manaea. It's 3.07. I think it's even better than that in the whole second half. You can just look at that and go, okay, like you clearly made a change.
Yeah.
You clearly are going to be better than this on a full 162 if you keep doing what you're doing.
That's the thing, like people love it when they're, we can attribute a reason to why this is happening. And, with Sean Manaea right here, it's like, it is abundantly clear. It's like, oh, okay, you made that adjustment. It was working. Like, we really like this, and we kind of want to have our version of Chris Sale. So, no, I 100% think that that could make a lot of sense. 11-5 is his record right now. 11-5 win-loss record for Sean Manaea of the New York Mets. Like, that is just really, really good. And, as you guys know, we are riding with the New York Mets to kind of kick the Braves out of that final wild card spot, which is gonna be crazy. It's been a while since we haven't seen Atlanta in the postseason.
I can't even remember the last time they weren't. They've been the juggernaut of that the NL East
for a
long, long
time. Let me look it up, actually. Yeah, because you're right. Like, when the hell was the last time that the Braves weren't in the postseason?
And I realistically think that they ain't gonna make it, man. I mean, the injuries that they've had to their pitching staff, the injuries they had to their lineup. No Austin Riley, no Ronald Acuna Jr. It's not good, man.
Wow, yeah. 2017. So 2017 was the last time that they were not in the postseason. They've been to the postseason 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 years in a row. Obviously, in that period of time as well, they did win the World Series as well. So this has been a juggernaut team for a long period of time, and we might see the New York Mets kind of kick them out here. And this is also, too, keep in mind, they're going to have a winning record.
Yeah,
the Atlanta Braves are going to have a very good record. Any other squad would look at the record and go, oh, shit, I'd like that record on my team.
Right.
Might not be good enough, though.
They would make playoffs in the AL, right? And
yeah, they would.
For a long time, it was like the AL was so stacked. But, dude, this NL this year is cracked. Because, again, same thing like I brought up last time on the show. There's no AL leading team right now that's really doing well. Even the Astros are starting to cool off. They're 4-6 in their last 10. Whereas over on the NL, man, it's a race to the finish. So, hey, man, it could be a very different playoffs than we're used to with no Atlanta Braves.
Yeah, 100%, guys. Let's move on and talk a little bit about another pitcher who's just been incredible. We were gassing up Sean Manaea, and rightfully so. But if you don't know who Bowden Francis is at this point, you need to, because Bowden Francis of the Toronto Blue Jays has been fucking historic in the last month, 2 months. Like, what he is doing on the bump for those Toronto Blue Jays, like, I can't even come up with adjectives to describe how good it has been. And what makes it even crazier is, to begin the season, he was awful.
Oh, he was so bad.
Terrible. I never wanted to watch that guy pitch.
No.
He goes through this stretch of awful, awful baseball. But then, in the last 2 months, in the second half of the season, you are looking at arguably the best pitcher in baseball, and arguably the best pitcher or stretches of Toronto Blue Jays pitchers that we have ever seen.
Yeah, this was wild, man. I made a little short on this morning. So, for Toronto Blue Jays, and maybe some diehard MLB fans will know who Dave Stieb is, of course, from Dave Steve's arguably the best pitcher in Blue Jays history. Like everyone always, if you were to ask what's your Mount Rushmore of Blue Jays pitchers, you got Roy Halladay on there.
It's either one of the two.
You got Dave Steve. Like those are the guys, right? Everyone says they're the best. So this is a crazy stat. In a single season, with at least 7 innings pitched and giving up 1 or less hits, 1 or 0, or 1 or less earned runs, how many starts have these pitchers done in a single season with that kind of line? Well, you had Dave Stieb. He had 3 in 1988. He had 2 in 1989. Drew Hutchison had 2 in 2014. Alek Manoah had 2 in 2021. But Bowden Francis is on top of them all with 4. And it all has happened in the last 6 starts. This is the best stretch you've ever seen. And then to add to that, in that stretch of 6 starts, he has had the lowest whip in MLB history.
That's crazy.
Trumping Jacob deGrom with 0.41, and he had 0.4, Bowden Francis. So literally 0.01 better than Jacob deGrom.
Yeah.
But still, history has been made. And I almost didn't even want to bring it up because I know in Blue Jays fandom, it's like, oh, like, obviously this guy's amazing, but this is starting to become all baseball.
Oh,
greatest
totally.
stretch of all time.
No, I know. Like, what's happening right now is crazy, right? And, we were watching the game where he did almost no-hit the Mets because he was the guy that went 8 innings, no-hit ball. That's not the first time that we've seen that from Bowden Francis in the last month. It was only like 3 or 4 starts ago where the exact same thing happened, and he was, a couple outs away from getting a no-hitter. So, like, what is happening right now is truly ridiculous. Or since the beginning of August, to right now, from his August starts to where we're at today on September 12th, he's got a 1.49 ERA. What is his record? Oh, the poor guy's not winning any games because of the Toronto Blue Jays. The poor guy's not winning any goddamn ball games. But in that stretch, he's pitched 48.1 innings because he's just going deep into those ball games. 7 innings, 8 innings, 7 innings. Like, we're talking about somebody who's just eating up outs right now. 106 batting average against. Like, you can pull a fucking bunch of different numbers right now to just highlight how crazy he's been. But seriously, if you haven't watched him pitch, look it up, follow along, like, find the next ball game that he is going to be starting, because there's a good chance that he might get a no-hitter.
Yeah, literally. I mean, you have the Pitching Ninja. I don't know if you guys ever follow Pitching Ninja. He just always posts about the greatest pitchers. And he's all over Bowden Francis. Why? Because he mixes his pitches well. He changes velocity, changes location, does all the things that you're supposed to do as a pitcher. And Bowden's trusting his shit, his quote that he says, and it's working. I thought it was crazy, too. We were watching the game. I just could not believe that he gave a glove sign. He changed
that was insane.
Yeah, he started his windup because the clock was going down, so he started his windup. So mid-windup, he was shaking off, and they couldn't get on the same page. He had a pitch already in mind, and he signaled curveball, drops it in for a strike.
Yeah.
I think I don't even know who it was. Maybe Starling Marte was at the plate. But he drops it in, no swing, even though he told him exactly what pitch was coming.
No, it's the most badass shit that you'll ever see, guys. Like, when you were legit, like, that's the type of stuff that Trevor Bauer used to do.
Yeah,
where he'd be like, I'm
telling you.
Yeah, it's like,
I'm telling you what I'm throwing.
I'm telling you what I'm throwing, and then you do it anyways, and obviously, I'm not saying that Bowden Francis is Trevor Bauer or anything, but
pitch
like,
clock. I need to get my pitch off
like,
so
it just so happened to be a necessity thing. He's just like, we're doing curveball, and boom, in there for a strike. Like, I don't know, man. Like, it's just some wild stuff going on right now with Bowden Francis. It does, beg the question, is this who he is? Because he is 28 years old, and, he wasn't a really highly touted prospect or anything like
18th
that.
Rounder.
Like, we're just talking about a guy here, but with everything that he's done in the MLB, like, you are starting to now have people come out and be like, holy shit, like, is this a guy?
Right.
And maybe.
Like, there's no denying what he's doing is very reminiscent of Dave Stieb, because Dave Stieb would do this all the time. Obviously, we were not alive during the Dave Stieb era, but for those who were around, I mean, I'm taking their quotes directly. This is very Dave Stieb-like. Absolutely, where it's like every inning, I can throw over 100 pitches. And that's the thing, too. This is very old-school baseball where he's throwing 100, 110 pitches. Granted, because he's going for no-hitters almost every other start.
Yeah.
But he's doing it. And he's not losing any command. Like, the homer he gave up to Francisco Lindor was a fastball well located up in the zone after throwing a splitter down and low. So it's not like he
Not a complete
It
mistake.
wasn't a
pitch
complete
or anything.
mistake.
Yeah.
It was a purposeful pitch, and I mean Frankie's just Frankie and hits it over the wall. But yeah, you're right. Like, he is 28 years old. What are we going to see? All I know is that, like, okay, this is obviously the peak of what he's doing. I don't know what the floor looks like. Maybe because he's obviously changed a lot when he went down to AAA Buffalo for the Blue Jays farm system. Changed a few things of how he's approaching. He was attacking now versus biting the corners, and that's why he was getting beat up earlier in the season. So maybe we haven't seen the floor yet of this new Bowden Francis. We'll definitely see it next season because he's absolutely earned a start in the rotation for the Jays.
He'll definitely be a starting pitcher moving forward for certain. I want to know what the fuck they talked about down there in AAA because, like, whatever it was, it worked.
I don't know either. I mean, I wonder if he must have had Brian Serven down there too, because Serven, the catcher, has been catching him in all the starts.
Right.
So obviously they must have formed a rapport with each other and how they want to attack. But whatever it is great pitch mixing, great location, great sequencing, and just putting it in the zone.
Yeah,
just trusting his shit.
Trusting your shit and letting it eat, and he has been doing so. So shout out to Bowden Francis for being that guy.
Mm-hmm, absolutely. Let's move on to another AL East team, everybody. The Baltimore Orioles. Oh, my goodness. What's going on over there in Baltimore? Because they've been on a really bad skid lately, not just even in their last 10, where they are 5-5. It's mid. In their last 62 games, get this, since the beginning of July, everybody, the Baltimore Orioles are 30-32. That is a team that sounds like the Toronto Blue Jays, literally. And they're right there competing for an AL East division crown. What's going on over there in Baltimore? I looked at a lot of their stats, just team stats. In the last 15 days, I mean, they're doing okay. The OPS is ranked 15th in baseball with a 692 OPS. ERA is 390 with 11th in baseball in the last 15 days. I don't know what's going on over there in Baltimore. Do you have any idea, Nick?
Yeah, I do. I got a great idea because I'm going to take it straight from Jordan Westburg. Jordan Westburg, breakout star for the Baltimore Orioles this year, hurt right now. He came out recently and just said, dude, vibes are down. Actually, to put it exactly how he said it, morale is down, which is effectively meaning the vibes are down right now. They've been struggling. They're just, they're not really finding it. But I feel like this is a team that, when they had all those young kids come up, it was we're winning, we're dominating consistently, we're never really going through these tough stretches, and maybe right now they're feeling the weight a little bit of the expectations. It is now the first time where I think that everyone in MLB is like, you are the guys. You are really good at baseball, and we do expect things because for a long time it was like, oh, Baltimore fucking sucks, and we don't know. Even walking into this year, everyone was down on Baltimore, and they were like, it
can't happen again.
It was a one-hit wonder. They're not gonna be nearly as good, but they were immediately. And now, as we're getting closer and closer to the postseason, those weight of those expectations, I think, are just getting heavier and weighing down on some of these young guys. So I think that the morale and just like the mentality of this team right now is not there.
Right. I mean, like literally Westberg saying it right here. He says, I think guys are searching and putting a lot of pressure on themselves to right the ship. But deep down, we all have this confidence that we're a good ball club. We have the pieces to make a run. And that's the thing. Like, we saw it a little bit with the Blue Jays when they went on a run. They put a lot of pressure on themselves because they haven't really been there before, and they got to carry this team. A lot of young guys in that lineup. And then you saw them searching and chasing. And when you get down into a stretch like this where you're struggling, you start to force a little bit of things. But that's where the veteran leadership and the veteran mentality and the experience of going through these tough stretches as a ball team and being leaders on a ball team, all these young guys, this is where you have to have the understanding of, like, we have to get back to what made us great in the first place, which is our approach, being patient and not searching and chasing hits, but searching good, loud contact at the plate.
Yeah, and you know what? It's a large part. I don't want to talk too long about the Toronto Blue Jays here, but that's a large reason why people are kind of looking at some of the players on Blue Jays right now and going, oh, you are doing so well. Because there is none of this.
No pressure,
there is none of this at all, right? Whereas now the Baltimore Orioles are feeling the weight of those expectations. I have no doubt that they have the pieces to do it. I mean, I trust in this team. I trust in the makeup of this squad. But, to take a page out of Bowden Francis's book, you got to trust your shit. And you got to let it eat, boys, because you have some incredible stuff going on over there in Baltimore. You got some star players, but if you ain't trusting it, if you ain't letting it eat, you're not going to go very far in the postseason.
Yeah, like their pitching's been pretty solid. Like it hasn't been. I mean, they have got Corbin Burns obviously, and they went through a little bit of rough patch of injuries. So like they've been okay. It's mostly that offense, man.
I know.
It's mostly that offense that's been really struggling. So we'll see how it goes. And this kind of also begs the question: where are you kind of at right now in your expectations for them this postseason?
Well,
based on the way they've been playing.
I'll
lately.
tell you right now, they're making me sweat on my division bet because shout out to Betway, everybody. I put a bet literally preseason that they were going to win the division. I am sweating it out right now because they are 1.5 games back of the New York Yankees. Still, 15-odd games of baseball to play, but we want to pick up the Sox here, boys. As far as, just postseason expectations for this team, we were discussing it last time. It feels like the tier difference between the good to the great to the excellent teams is not a whole lot. So I mean, like, my expectations for them are kind of similar to my expectations for a lot of these other teams, like the Yankees and the Astros. Like, I actually have no idea who I see going deep in the playoffs right now. Like, I guess maybe the Astros, just because I believe in them and I've seen them do it before, but
honestly, it's whoever's hot at the right time.
I know.
You got the Guardians, who are the hottest team in the AL right now, whereas last week it was the Astros.
Yeah, that's the thing. That's the thing. Like, it's just been flip-flopping back and forth consistently. So I think Baltimore, realistically, I would be very disappointed if they don't exit. Like, let's say that they don't win the division and they are in that wild card spot. If you don't exit the wild card round,
that's
with a win, I think that would be a very big disappointment. I have to see you go into the ALDS because that's where you were last year, right? You won the division last year. You were there last year. You didn't win a single game. I need to see you go there again and then hopefully, take that next step, win a couple games, make it competitive. If you can move on to the ALCS, this is a win for you.
I guess
this is a win.
I guess if we're talking about teams that are inexperienced in the postseason, like the Orioles kind of are. They only went one time in the last little bit. But the Kansas City Royals right now would be matched up with them in the wild card if it were to end today. So that's two teams right there that don't have any postseason experience except for Salvi Perez. We all know he's a veteran there. But like most of the guys on these rosters don't have much. So if anybody were to get matched up to anybody, that feels like a fun one right there. Where it could be anybody's game.
So it would be Orioles and then Royals, and then it would be
Twins and Astros right now.
Twins and Astros. So I mean, if that's the case, like, I think I would ride with both of the favorites in the Orioles and the Astros there to move on out of that. And then it would be you'd have the Guardians and the Yankees joining the fray after that. So I think that's where I would be at right now. I do need to see a little bit more from Baltimore, though, moving forward. I'm looking at their team stats right now, and, you're speaking about offensive stuff. They lead the league in home runs this year. That's part of your identity. Gunnar Henderson smacking bombs. Santander smacking bombs. That is part of your identity. If you're going into the postseason, you're going to win off of your bats. That's what's going to carry you to the finish line. So we are going to need to see some of those young boys start hitting with authority.
Yeah, because that's exactly what it needs to be. I mean, because right now that's the part that's struggling right now for them. Where are they in? I'm trying to find them in the pitching department on the year in ERA. They're 13th. So it's like
good enough.
It's not an overpowering. It reminds me so much of the Toronto Blue Jays like a few years ago, where such a great offense all year long, and then the pitching was just on the fringe of being a top playoff team kind of staff. So it's going to come down. It's going to be an interesting way to see them in the postseason, and based on what they do in this postseason, is going to kind of write the story for this franchise, right? If they go out and let's say they get swept again. Now it's like, wow, high expectations flop. But if they go out and they prove it all wrong, it's all a different story right now. You got to prove it.
Yeah, of course, right? You are, I think, if not the best team in the American League, assuredly the second best team this season, right? It's you and the Yankees. You can debate, who's been better all year long. I know the Yankees have like one or two more games better than them right now. But, show us that in the playoffs. Show us that in the playoffs that you are a top dog in the American League, right?
That's what it comes down to. You listen, you don't want to be on our side of things, Orioles fans. It's not fun to have really high expectations and flop.
No,
it's
it
not
isn't.
good.
No, it isn't. You also do not want to be anywhere close to the Chicago White Sox. Talking about god-awful American League organizations. This one's bad. We don't want to spend too much time on this just because what is there to say?
We know what it is.
you are one of the worst teams ever. They're 2-8 in their last 10. They got a record of 33-114. Holy shit. Dude, yeah, I'm thinking right now, like, for next year, for like Betway and all these betting sites, what is their over-under going to be set at? Like 44?
Yeah, like literally, that's so
like
bad.
literally, what is their over-under going to be set at? It is going to be historically low what Vegas puts them at, and it makes a lot of sense because even the White Sox owner right here is just coming out and saying this year has been very painful for all. Like even and of course, right? It's been fucking terrible. But when you got your owner just coming out and literally being like, "Damn, I hate watching this team too."
Yeah.
Like, you are down so bad.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of just saying what everyone feels and is thinking, saying everyone in this organization is extremely unhappy with the results of the season. That goes without saying. And it's funny, like, he has a final quote here where it's like, I expect to have more to say at the end of the season because, like, there isn't anything else to say. You have 15 games left in the regular season, and you have to win 10 of them to avoid joining the 120-loss New York Mets of 1962 since expansion.
They're not going to. Like, this is, again, going to be the worst baseball team ever, if not, right up there in the top three, right? Like,
it's going to be the worst baseball team ever. Baseball team ever. It's going to be. Like, they literally have to win 10 games.
Yes.
This will be the worst.
Yeah, they're not going to win 10 games. This is going to be the worst team ever. So, Chicago White Sox, like, holy mother of God. I've been saying this for a while now too. It's like there's already a team in Chicago. Montreal wants a baseball team. Go.
Hey, listen, if they don't get out of this rebuild, because they're a historic franchise, right? Like, they're there with, like, when did they expand? I actually don't know when they expanded, but they're a very iconic franchise. If they don't figure it out in the next few years, then relocation, man.
Relocation.
Are you looking up their expansion right now? Or
I'm just looking at like their history and everything like that. What they've done.
When did they join the league?
Dude, they've been 1901.
Oh yeah, there we go.
So they've been around for a long period of time.
That's saying it's one of those things where it's like you almost don't want to do it because they're such an iconic franchise.
We're doing it with Oakland.
But yeah, that's saying Oakland's a little bit. I think it's a little bit newer than the. Obviously, they're a little bit newer. But they're only iconic as a Billy Bean.
Right.
They're iconic for being so poor.
Yes.
Which is hilarious. And they have a movie of Brad Pitt. That's why.
It's like it's kind of that debate. Like, they. You know what? They are an iconic franchise, and I certainly hear that. But it's almost like you're so bad now that don't ruin the legacy.
That's why I'm saying it's got to be you got to go through a decade of time, I think, of ass.
Right.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, okay, now because this has been year 3 of them losing?
Year 2. Actually,
year
in
2.
2022 they were 81-81.
Oh, okay,
then last year they won 61 games, and now they're gonna win. God only knows how much.
So if they go on 5 to 10 years of this. It might be. You might lose. You might have to move because there'll be no more fans.
Right.
They'll all go to the north side.
Well, no, seriously. If you're a Chicago fan, I don't know what you're doing.
Like a Chicago White Sox fan.
Oh yeah. But if I'm living in Chicago and I'm trying to decide what baseball team I'm going to be a fan of,
Cubs.
It is so abundantly clear. It's got to be the Cubs.
Cubs are 75-71. They're actually going to have hopefully a winning record at the end of this. They're not going to make playoffs, but. At least it'll be exciting.
And at least in the last couple of years, it's like they haven't been completely just incompetent at the managerial positions, right? Don't you remember when Tony La Russa was fucking napping during the baseball game? That was a real thing that happened,
that was so funny,
We've watched this team just completely fall apart. So, yeah, it ain't good.
It ain't good, guys. But one guy that is very, very good, and this segment's brought to you by Greta Bar, everybody. Go check it out. Downtown Toronto, King Street West. They got over 50 arcade games. Got some great bar food, too. It's awesome. Turns to a club at night. Go have some fun. It's over there. Downtown Toronto, if you're in the area. The guy that's really good I'm talking about is of course, we're bringing up this every episode, is Shohei Ohtani, the 50-50 watch.
We might as well just say Shohei Ohtani sponsored by Gret at this point.
Yeah,
because it's
we're
just, every single time we're bringing up Shohei Ohtani, we're sponsoring it by Gret just because
it's so fun.
Yeah, it is. It is really a fun watch right now.
Arcade game numbers, I guess you could say.
Seriously, video game level statistics right now for Ohtani. Right now the count is at 47 bombs, 48 stolen bases, and we have how many games remaining right now? Let me pull up. Okay, so the Dodgers currently have
Dodgers?
87 and 59. So that means that they're at 90, 148. They played 148 games, 14 games left.
Oh gosh. Okay, 14 games, 3 home runs. Okay.
I mean, that's very doable.
You can do it. You can do it. He's got to stick with his approach, like we said last time.
Yeah.
He's got to just focus on that. The stolen bases are going to come.
Dude, it would be
happen.
such a blue ball if he gets like 49 home runs, 50 stolen bases.
Failure of a season.
Like, no, seriously, it's like I'd be like, guys, can we just like if that actually happened and it's like the last game, I'm like, please just throw him some meatballs.
Watch it be like a fan interference, like stealing the ball away, they did the Bryce Harper.
Yeah, that
was
fucking bullshit too, because that was over. You know,
I know
that was over.
But then if any interference, stolen.
Like I get the rule, but it's like, come on, guys. Like
that would be it,
break.
man. Man, that would be it. Again, speaking of Blue Jay history, that's what, dude. That was so BS. Like Jose Bautista hit a game, going ahead home run, but a fan did the same thing, and they didn't call it no, they did call it interference. So yeah, it was bullshit. It happens.
Well, here's the thing: if that happens to Ohtani, I don't think they'd call it. I think if it was actually if that was actually for 50-50
they let it go.
and it was like like on the brink, I think they totally let it go, man. I think they totally let it go. And honestly, I'd be okay with it. Just let it go. Let it happen.
But then then there'd be all that debate, though. There'd be a couple of people out there who'd be like, well, they
can shut the hell up, dude. There's people out there that regularly go, oh, Aaron Judge isn't actually that good because he plays in a little league park or whatever.
And he gets the juice balls.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, like, I do hear what you're saying. It's a smaller ballpark, but and there was that whole ball thing.
I actually don't agree with them because I actually looked at this the other day. Because you got Baseball Savant that breaks down the ballpark factors. And actually, I want to look at them. I'll bring it up right now because we got a little bit of time. Where is it here? Ballpark factors. How many home runs would you have? Here it is. Yeah. So in the season, if he had all those home runs at Yankee Stadium, he'd have 51.
Okay.
That's less than what he currently has. Is it less or is that exactly what he has?
That's
exactly what he has. Okay. So
right.
it's the exact same thing. He would actually have more at L.A. Angels. He'd have more in the Phillies stadium. He'd have 62 at Cincinnati.
Holy shit.
Yeah. He'd have 54 in Milwaukee, 56 in Dodger Stadium. He'd have 51 at the Rocky Stadium.
Wow.
But, yeah, I mean, yes, more times than not, he would have less in other stadiums.
That's ridiculous. That's still ridiculous. There's multiple. At that point, it's like there is a clear handful, more than a handful of other baseball stadiums that if you were playing there, you would do just as good, if not better.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were in the Cincinnati Reds stadium right now, like you are the lock-in MVP,
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, man. I think that argument's so stupid. It's like you're arguing, like if that's what you're really pissed off about, don't watch baseball.
Yeah, because that's what the game is, man.
That's what I mean. Like you should be arguing with Rob Manfred and the Yankees owners and stuff. It's just dumb. It's just dumb.
Bro, you wouldn't believe what he would put up if he was a Cincinnati Red for his whole career, bro. in his 2017 year was rookie year technically. He would have hit 63 home runs already.
Okay, whoa. So you're telling me that if Aaron Judge was a Cincinnati Red for his whole career.
Yeah, and played all his games at Cincinnati Red Stadium, whatever that is.
Yeah.
He would be a superstar. Well, he's already a superstar, but he'd be like a legend. He'd just be legendary because he would have broke the record in 2017. He would have hit 71 in 2022. 71 home runs.
71 home runs in Cincinnati Red Stadium.
Yes. Yeah. And then in this year, 62. So he would have broken the record 3 times already in the American League record. That's National League, so different.
So Aaron Judge would literally be Barry Bonds if he was a Cincinnati Red.
Correct, everybody.
For every single person that talks shit about the ballpark size of New York, there you go. There you go.
You can't argue with it anymore.
No, you can't. I mean, like, if the stats are actually out there just saying it's like, this is what it is. Like, if he was a Cincinnati Red, he puts up this amount of things. Like, okay. I don't know. We should be getting angry at Paul Goldschmidt then.
Yeah,
Or not Paul Goldschmidt, like
Goldschmidt.
Ellie De La Cruz.
Yeah, Ellie De La Cruz got to hit way more home runs.
Yeah.
What's
You know,
going
what
on?
the fuck's happening over there, guys? Like, why aren't you doing it?
Why aren't you guys winning ball games? It's probably because other teams come in and hit more home runs than them.
Right.
Yeah, that's probably why it is.
I guess so, but seriously, it's like, what you know, if that's actually the case, like, you know, we got to be talking about Ellie and we got to be talking about all these things. It's just dumb.
Wow, I did not know that Cincinnati's ballpark was that.
No, me either.
That's crazy. Actually,
that's weird. Yeah, I got to take a look at like Cincinnati Reds ballpark now and
Yeah.
just figure out like where would those be going out.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah.
like why is it like that?
That's wild, guys. You learn something new every day about baseball. But that is the end of today's Bad for Baseball episode. You guys let us know in the comments. What do you think about that whole Phillies brawl? And, like, what do you think about the Phillies in general? Because they are looking super scary, not only because of their personalities, but because of the way they play baseball. And as well, history in the making. You got Mets doing some things. As well, Bowden Francis for our Blue Jay fans out there. What do you think about him and more, guys?
Yeah, thank you so much for watching, everybody. Hit that like, smash the subscribe button, and we will catch you next time.
Cheers.